Welcome to Spirit Level, the podcast that explores spirit, mystery, inspiration, and the ancient art of divination through the lens of modern living. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Fingal.
And we're your hosts. In this podcast, we have a mix of guest speakers asking what spirituality means to them, talking heads between Fingal and me, our experiences, what's helped us along our paths, and what could inspire you, and maybe some meditations along the way. So, how are you, Fingal? Fingal. It's funny because I call you Finn.
Yeah, it's a funny
and
one.
Everybody calls you Fingal.
Yeah, even my parents call me Finn, and I'm thinking, why on earth?
I have tried to call you Fingal more. Have you noticed? Because you did say
I do prefer it.
I prefer Fingal. But when we first met, because it was a bit of a mouthful, I just thought it was easier to say Finn. And then I noticed all your family call you Finn. So I was like, oh, well, that's fine.
It was funny when we went to Turkey, isn't it? We've just got back from Turkey recently, and there was this guy, and he was, "What's your name?" And I went, "Finn." He went, "Finny?" I was like, "No, Finn."
Couldn't do it.
Finny? Finn.
Yeah.
Finny?
So you went, Fingal?
And then I went, Fingal, and he went, Fingal. It's
opposite.
It's completely opposite of normally what happens. It's such a minefield. So yeah, I went to the hairdressers recently, and they were like, Fingal, greenlaw-meek. It's a hell of a mouthful. Anyway, yeah,
How are you?
Yeah, I'm really, really, really well at the moment, actually. Good. And I've been reflecting on this, just in terms of, sometimes it's so habitual to say, oh, I'm fine. And I remember there's a really good friend of mine, and every once in a while she goes, I'm really well, and really means it. And I'm really trying to, and it's funny, I went to Starbucks, and there was a woman behind the counter, and I said, how are you? And she went, oh, I've been having a terrible time. And I just really, it's a nice piece of connection. She didn't go into any details. She was just really honest. But I think that
she couldn't have been British.
No.
Was she not?
Quite. No, she was American.
Yeah.
She was American. I'm super well. And a lot of it, I know it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but I've actually, surprise, I've actually been practicing what I preach, which is always
gratitude.
Yes. So I've really been starting each of my days with gratitude, and it's utterly transformative. And I know again, you hear this thing all the time of gratitude, but actually just spending a couple of minutes in the morning and just really reflecting on what I'm grateful for, it just makes everything so much more pleasant and easier and enjoyable. It's funny. Anyway, yeah, so no, I'm well. And how are you? You're a little tired.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a bit like I'm struggling with not having my routine, I think, because we've been all over the shop for the past week or so.
I think it will be probably about 2 weeks or something since I've been home.
Yeah, well, we went home for a day and then we were away again. And it's just, I really struggle not having routine. I'm struggling not having the gym, my yoga classes to go to, just sleeping in my own bed. And that just, for me, energetically just wipes me. And I just feel...
It's starting to take its toll.
But I'm all right. We will do a session on gratitude, actually. But that is not what we're going to talk about today. But I think we should, because it's such a lovely, big subject to delve into. But today we were going to talk about auras.
Yes.
Do we want to talk about... Should we just change it now? We've just started this whole thing about gratitude.
Let's. I think auras is for another week.
How funny. Okay, fine.
He's putting down his book that had some of his notes in, and he's just like, no, we're discarding it. So it's like, this might be an utter shit show, listeners.
We are going completely off piste. Oh, why do we do this? Well, we do just because this is pretty much what our life's like. We just are led by what comes up in the moment. Exactly. And actually, it is true. And actually, perhaps the reason we're going to talk about this is because I need to hear it.
It's funny because you're often, when we first met, you were much more grateful for things than I was. Yeah. I often could be in a place of seeing shortcomings and feeling a bit shortchanged. And dare I say it, a bit of the victim archetype.
Yeah.
Shock horror. That's something I've always had to really work through. And I think having a lack of gratitude, gratitude is so often the tonic or the antidote to victimhood. You can't be grateful and a victim. Nor can you be kind of miserable and grateful. It is one of the greatest tonics. And again, it's something I found that has to be cultivated. It does actively. It's a practice.
It is
exactly.
a practice.
It's not just something that just falls into the lap. And the biggest irony is once you're in this loop of gratitude, more great things come along, but as soon as you're out of that, it's really, really difficult to find kind of gratitude things. But it's interesting because I've noticed that gratitude within you has slightly slipped the busier you've got.
It's true, yeah. I think in terms of work, it's been quiet for the past 5 years, really. I mean, I've been teaching yoga and doing bits, but because I got sick and was forced to have almost 2 years off, I don't know. It's like I've been able to just be really relaxed, really present, really. There was more time for gratitude, more time for all these other things. The busier I've become, the less time I've got for the practice and the work and the things that we are constantly talking to others about doing. So it is true. And I think perhaps this is a reason why this is meant to be today, because you're absolutely right that I have slightly forgotten to be grateful each day. And it was something I was practicing daily.
And one thing I've also noticed is that when I'm in a place of true gratitude, even the kind of real, because there is this misconception at the moment, or this kind of this message going out, which I think is really corrosive in terms of gratitude can whitewash any situation. As long as you're grateful, the world, it's like this sunbeamed kind of existence. And it's, being grateful is not about pretending that the situation isn't arising. Quite the opposite. But being grateful for even difficult situations and actually looking at, I wonder why the universe did send this my way. Oh, I wonder why that crappy situation happened, or that argument happened, or that accident happened. What can I look at this? What are the lessons I can look within that situation? What are the learnings? What was my part of it? And actually being able to be heartfeltly, not a word, but we'll go with it, heartfeltly grateful. What a tongue twister. Heartfeltly grateful for even seemingly because this big mantra I've been working with at the moment is life is always working for you and not against you. And for years, I mean decades, I felt like life was against me. I felt like I was being punished by the gods, or that I'd been singled out and kind of I was living out some sort of purgatory. I mean, how miserable is that? But that was like years of that.
Well, recently you've changed that mindset, because you hear people that I listen to tons of podcasts, particularly of CEOs. I love listening to people that have made it in business, or, it's something that really interests me. And, I would say the one thing most of them all have in common is they don't see their work as a job. And it's something that I've noticed you saying recently. And I think because I've all of a sudden got really busy and I'm not used to having this much going on.
It is an adjustment period for sure.
It's quite an adjustment, and I'm struggling. It's it's exhausting, but B, it's just, there's a lot of things to think about. And I am feeling a little bit overwhelmed with it all, to be honest. And I think you've obviously been having the business a lot longer, although you're also probably doing less, because I am taking most of the work on. This is why.
Damn it, I was hoping you would notice.
Oh, cling is just dropped. Oh, that's why I'm overwhelmed, because I'm bloody doing everything now. All of a sudden, this one's sitting back filing his nails, and I'm
hardly.
Well,
it has been easier. It has been easier for me.
Definitely
But it's also, I think for me, that's taken a process of, actually, I need balance. I don't have to do everything myself. And I think you're just figuring out that
my balance with
it's that reacclimatizing and that.
But I have noticed your shift in the way you're talking about work, and really consciously not allowing yourself to use that constant mantra or that self talking of, oh, this is hard, or oh, this is a nightmare, or this isn't working.
Oh, I'm so busy.
Busy. I know. Well, we've both caught kind of
somebody said Poppy actually said if you're listening, Poppy, said to me she substituted that for I'm being really productive at the moment, which I thought was really lovely. I really like that. She was like, I'm just being really productive.
We both noticed ourselves saying that, and it's become a bit cringe, hasn't it? Yeah. It's become a bit, and
basically I'm really busy equates to I'm so important.
Yeah.
And it's a really dangerous thing, and we put so much weight and so much emphasis on if you're not doing. You know, I've got a coaching client at the moment, and she's in a period of unemployment. And after my MA, took me a year to find a job in the fashion industry. And I was so crushed by it. And it was like, what's my purpose? And got really depressed and really just kind of felt really lost. And this whole thing. And again, this is why gratitude is so, so important. Actually, always just coming back to this point of gratitude.
And you can be busy. The thing is, it's not like when we're saying it, we probably are busy, but looking behind what you're saying that for. Why are you saying that? Are you saying that for effect to somebody? Are you saying that because genuinely what you're saying is, I'm so fucking overwhelmed right now. I just need a bit of help. Because that's potentially there's that going on as well.
Yeah. So, part of that. And also there's this pride, isn't there?
Pride,
there
exactly.
There is this kind of, my life is so full.
Yeah.
It's just so full.
We're made to believe that if we're busy, then we're doing well as well. It's all those things. So it's potentially unpicking why you're saying it. So I would highly recommend somebody, and I bet you there's a lot of you out there that have that mantra, I'm so busy. We've really recognized that in ourselves recently and adjusted how we respond to people.
And actually, when we were talking of, I think we had a conversation about it privately, and talking about the busyness of the business at the moment, because it's thriving, it's going really well, it's expanding in the great way, but we were kind of downplaying it in all kind of going, oh, it's just so demanding, and it's just, there's a lot going on at the moment. There's a lot going on. And there is a lot going on.
And somebody said,
that's not going to change.
No, and somebody said, well, isn't that a good thing? And we were like, oh yeah, well, I know it is. It just feels like a lot.
Yes.
It's just overwhelm, I think, is a big part of it. And it's just recognizing what the true emotion is behind what's happening. And that's okay, and honoring that. And if you're overwhelmed, fine. So what do you need to do to counterbalance the overwhelm? How can we bring that in? Gratitude is a really good segue. Gratitude, because
it's such a good tonic for so much.
I am grateful to have this. I'm grateful to have these connections with people. I'm grateful to have a purpose again. For me, for a long time, I felt like I didn't have a purpose. I'd lost my way, and now I have a role. Now I have a something to wake up for. I actually love the archetype of business. I love being that person, that entrepreneur, that person that responds to emails. I like having structure. I like that. We're very different, and that's why it works well in the business, because you are less inclined to have the structure and the...
See how diplomatically you're saying this. A chaotic mess, I think, is what he means.
But it's true, isn't it? We bring different qualities, and actually being grateful the fact that I've been given that opportunity now to come on board and to fulfill these things and to help me find my purpose again.
And grateful isn't just about like gritting your teeth and bearing it and just going, oh, this is a terrible situation, but I'm really grateful it's happening. It's not just a kind of whitewashing, as I say. There are times that we need to adjust and make changes, but actually if we can focus more on kind of hands on your knees and saying thank you. I may have mentioned it before, but one of my favorite cards in the tarot is the Devil card, because it's the card that makes us recognize what isn't working, and actually having gratitude for, thank goodness I've recognized what isn't working before it's too late, or before I couldn't make any. Actually, that moment of recognition is really, really important. I just wanted to touch briefly, because I love to always give kind of practical how-do kind of things, because sometimes it's difficult to know where to start. So one thing that I did for a good while is I did it probably 18 months, something like that, maybe even 2 years. Did it for a long time. My friend and I had a to-do list and gratitude list. I don't know if you remember me doing this. I used to text it on
WhatsApp.
I
use it with clients now. I use this as a tool for clients. It's brilliant.
And I set up a WhatsApp group with one friend, and every day we used to, and we really need to pick it back up. Steph, if you're listening, let's start again. But we used to send each other at the end of each day 3 things for our to-do list, which I'll explain in a moment, and 3 things to our gratitude list. And a to-do list is the opposite of a to-do list. So it's the things that you've managed to do for yourself. So that might be as simple as, I cooked myself a delicious meal, or I didn't react in a negative way when I was triggered at work, or I walked to work instead of taking the bus. Whatever it doesn't have to be anything grand at all. Again, this isn't about productivity. This is about self-care. The things on your to-do list that you did that was kind of, from this process of self-care. And then you've got your gratitude list, which are anything that you're grateful for. I'm grateful to Jamie for cooking me a delicious meal. I'm grateful that the sun came out today, whatever it might be. And what that's doing is, the gratitude is identifying where the universe has got your back. And the to-do list is recognizing where you've got your back. And what's really nice about doing this in tandem with somebody else is twofold. Firstly, it keeps you accountable, the obvious. So occasionally you go, oi, where's your list? And there's kind of a little prompt and a little reminder to do for each other. But also what's lovely about it is that you really get to see somebody else's life. I learned more about my friend through this process than anything else, because I was like, oh, she's had kids dinner with the kids today, or she managed to hand in her project, or whatever. It's
you're deepening your bond with that friend, aren't you, as well? So you're completely making that friendship more fruitful. It's
really, really lovely. And then just a final one is that I was doing it almost every day for a while now. I've slightly let it slip, but I'm hoping to pick it back up. But I was doing it every day for a good while, is just 10-15 minutes of gratitude every morning. And there are some great, maybe we'll do a meditation from the Wellness Foundry at some point, but there are some great ones out there on whatever listening platform you've got, loads on Spotify, loads on YouTube. I'm going to do the BBC announcement and other available listening platforms. But if you just search gratitude meditation, there's some duff ones, but generally they're really, really good. And just being in this place of gratitude first thing in the day is like the best way to set yourself up. And what I've noticed on the days that I do it, as opposed to the days I don't, the synchronicities just go through the roof. Like, I think this is why the synchronicities at the moment in my life are nuts. Nuts. I've not had them this strong for a long time.
All the 2s at the minute.
All the 222 is haunting me. Yeah. And I'm not normally huge into kind of angel numbers and numerology or anything like that, but the synchronicities at the moment have been, even last night when we kind of bumped into people that you hadn't seen for years, just really, really, really strange. And I always say that synchronicities are like God's breadcrumbs. So they're the reminder that just those little nuggets on your path, just to remind you that you're kind of on the right way. But it's when people talk about raising your vibration, that's what they're talking about. And that happens through a place of gratitude, so that we're not letting those kind of rocks at the riverbed of life to scrape us and kind of tear us apart, really. We're just able to kind of, it helps us keep things in perspective, really.
Yeah.
Looking to deepen your spiritual practice and holistic well-being? Then we have the answer. Here at the Wellness Foundry, we run spiritual retreats throughout the year in both the UK and abroad, with an emphasis on luxury, community, and spirituality. Expect a soul-enriching blend of yoga, profound intuitive teachings, delicious food, all within an idyllic setting. Use code PODCAST5 at checkout and enjoy 5% off your booking. For more information and bookings, visit the website wellnessfoundry.co.uk/retreats, or find out more on our Instagram @wellnessfoundry. Terms and conditions apply.
Absolutely. So what are some of your kind of practical gratitude ways? Because you're great in all of this space.
Honestly, I don't feel like I've been practicing it very much recently. So, it's a real reminder that, I don't know. I feel like this is something that I need to, I think what you've just suggested, getting a buddy for this gratitude list is a really, really good idea. I think writing things out for sure again. For me, perhaps that's more at night. Perhaps that's a routine that I can get into when I get into bed, and being grateful for the day, for the things that have happened in the day. And maybe even just actually telling the people that you're closest with a little bit more often, you know? It's something that we talk about our love language.
I love that.
And it's something that I'm always trying to work on, because we have very different love languages, don't we? So it's hard to...
So for those, sorry, just a quick aside, the 5 love languages. I can't remember the name of the guy who wrote the book, but this idea that everybody receives or identifies love in particular ways. And I think it's acts of service, gifts, words of affirmation, touch, and quality time.
Oh, well done.
Thank you.
He's recently read the book. I read it a long time ago, so I've slightly forgotten. I bought it you as a wedding gift, didn't I?
You did. I got him some lovely, I can't remember, I got you some lovely, like, beauty products or something.
Yeah, something lovely to spray for the day and use. And I bought him 2 books on, one, how to keep a marriage alive, and the second one, what is your love language?
But it's completely backfired now, because I'm going, that's not my love language. You're not giving me my love language.
He talks about this a lot, and it's true, and it's something I'm really trying to work on, because the things that I need aren't necessarily the things that Fingal needs. So for him, he really needs words of affirmation. For me, it's not so important.
No.
So gratitude, being grateful, being told I'm super grateful for you doing that, is probably something that I could really actually practice.
And I love that. I am going to say to all the listeners, if you're safe to do so, if you're not driving a car, why not text 3 people and just say things that you're grateful to them about.
So grateful for you for this.
I'm just grateful that you're in my life, or whatever. Just spread that gratitude right here, right now. So we're going to give you 30 seconds to do that.
Oh.
No, we're not really. But you can press pause, do it, and then press play.
Exactly. And I think there's just something about complimenting people in general. Like you touched on it at the beginning, and it's something that I've now cultivated. So when I walk into a space, a store, a shop, a cafe, whatever, I always ask the server how they are, which it's not a very British thing to do. I feel like not many people do that. You know, if we're in America, perhaps it'd be very different, because they are very good at that, very good at having that customer service and that customer interaction and checking in. But I've really realized if you start that in a way, you genuinely ask somebody, how are they? Like you said, sometimes they'll give you an honest response. Sometimes they, fine, thank you, how are you? The pleasantries, you know. But you're just setting that up in a much nicer way. You're setting that up for a conversation.
Do you remember when we were sorry to interrupt, but do you remember we were watching that masterclass on this guy that was an expert in communication?
Yeah.
And he was saying the easiest way to kind of develop any kind of relationship, particularly those, he was using the example, I think, of a call center, and most people find that really frustrating.
Yeah.
And he said on the call center once, I really appreciate, or he'd say, it really feels as though you're working hard to resolve this situation. And as soon as he says that, they want to help. They desperately they've recognized that actually I'm really going the extra mile, and so they continue to go that extra mile. And it's not about that kind of manipulation, but it's just about that recognition of, oh, I'm really grateful for you sorting that out. And it's just, not only is it pleasant and polite, but actually I've noticed that the response of how people interact with me from that is completely different. Completely different. I miss the days that I don't know if they still do it, but Pret a Manger used to kind of give free coffees and and sandwiches and all kind of snacks. If you were
they
really,
had an allowance, didn't they, that they could give
had
out?
the allowance.
I don't know. It hasn't happened for a while.
I used to get that all the time.
I remember. I was always so jealous. Like, why'd you get free stuff all the time? Do you know what? I think that's why I started asking people how they are. Because
it's not altruistic at all.
I just remember thinking that's so lovely. And then by doing something good, like attracts like. It's that simple thing. If you do something good, people want to do something good back. It's it's humankind. And it's such a simple thing to do, to say thank you to somebody or to be.
Because if you think about like gratitude in terms of exactly friendships, and you've got this person going, I love hanging out with you. Oh, thank you for cooking me a delicious meal. Oh, thank you so much for helping me out in that situation. You're going to want to do it more, right?
People
so
like to be made to feel good about themselves.
It's the same thing with the universe.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't understand this transference of, if you go, universe, thank you so much for giving me this. This is brilliant. Oh, I didn't expect this. This is wonderful. The universe is going to want to go, oh, you're loving this. Well, you just wait. Let's give you all of this on top of it as well. So
that's really important, isn't it? That's a real note as well, is when good things do happen to you and things are going right, make sure you are thanking whoever, whatever.
It's so interesting you say that, actually, because my hairdresser, I was having this conversation with my hairdresser this morning, and he's just got a new job. Shout out to Rob. He's just got a new job and a salon, and he messaged his mum, who lives in Sicily, I think, saying, can you light a candle for me at the local church? Because his mum's really Catholic. So he's saying, every time there's a kind of significant moment in my life, I always ask my mum to light a candle. And I thought, that was really beautiful. Like this, and you're completely right, just this little ritualistic thing of just recognizing and saying, thank you. And again, it's not about, the tricky bit is, as soon as we go into it with this attitude of rubbing your hands, I can get as much as I can now. Let's travel. As long as I'm grateful enough, I'll win the lottery. So it's not so much that, but it's just that heart opening thing. If we were able to lead from the heart in our lives, it's just so much more expansive and uplifting and joyous, and it's well, it's like why we just did our launch party, and it was the one, it was twofold. We invited press and influencers, and we wanted to shout from the rooftops at what we were doing and gain more coverage. Of course, that was part of it, but the bigger part of it actually was celebrating a milestone, celebrating an achievement, being grateful for all that we've managed to achieve, both to to us, to what we've built, to the team, to the clients, to being given this space, and randomly it being the first space we looked at, and then we looked at 500 more, and then what happened? We came back to this space. So important that we are recognizing those achievements at each step of the way, and not just letting things pass us by without celebrating these achievements. And that's something you're really good at, and it's something that I've had to really work at. I don't know why. I think perhaps it's a family thing. It's been instilled into me that for things to happen, you have to work your fingers to the bone. Yes.
That's been very much a mantra from money doesn't grow on trees. Who do you think you are? How come you're going on holiday again? Oh, God, la-di-da, look at him. And it's that kind of, and I think that is so deeply ingrained in me that I'm having to work really hard to actually recognize when things go well. It's like, well, this is great, and thank you, and I deserve this, and I'm grateful. And whereas I'm just so caught up in just the doing and the struggle. Do hard, work hard. And then if you do that, you might get something good out of it.
And there's almost like an attitude of, you're smug if... Again, I think we were speaking before about my friend who just goes, you know what, I'm really well. And, sometimes I was like, she's just showing off. She's just kind of rubbing it in. But actually it's like, and there is this thing of like, #blessed. But it is, sometimes it can be seen as a kind of showing off or a thing.
Yes.
And actually there is a bit of a fine line, yes, I think, in terms of that egoistic, look at me, I've got everything I've ever wished for kind of place. It's not coming from that vibration. But actually, it's completely right. It's like we're almost not allowed to kind of go, do you know what? I've done a great job here.
I think particularly as Brits, I think we really struggle with recognizing achievements. I think it is something that seems to be here. You know, I get the sense, I know we're talking a lot about American and English, and I've got great American friends, and I think I see it a lot, which is why that connection is so distinct and strong, but much better at recognizing that, and much better at giving thanks and gratitude and telling people how well they've done as well. Again, as a nation,
they've got Thanksgiving in their calendar, and what do we have? It's like we don't really. And this is, again, something that we used to do, and we've let it slip. It's a real shame, but we used to say thanks or grace at the beginning of every meal, and we used to sit there and say, thank you, Earth, thank you, Mother Gaia, for providing this food, and may it nourish our bodies. And again, that's the other thing. It's like those words that you instill or imbue your water with, or your food with, or, you know, the most important words that we say are those that we say just before we go to sleep. Because all the new cells that are created and generated in our sleep process are imbued with that sense. So this is why gratitude late at night is a really, really good thing. And what I would also say is, if you're really, I remember actually in the times that I used to do this thing with this friend, and we had the gratitude list and the to-do list, and in my kind of darkest hours, I would say, I'm really finding it difficult to be grateful for anything, and she would just text back saying, that's okay. And that was a really lovely thing as well, just knowing that I could be in that space of things are just a bit shit and heavy at the moment, and that also being kind of recognized. It's not putting icing on everything and just pretending it's okay. But if we can identify, okay, this is a crap situation, but this is what I'm grateful for, it's really important. The other thing that I would say is, if you are really stuck as to where to start, again, maybe at the end of this podcast, pull out a sheet of paper and just list in things in so you've got home, write 5 things you're grateful about your home. Write friends, 5 things you're grateful about your friends, family, all of that, and just list those. And one thing that I've noticed, and we've done this before, is when I have offered up flowers to the home, the spirit of the home, as a thank you, as a token of the shelter, the protection, and the joy that the home brings, those flowers have lasted weeks and weeks and weeks. It sounds nuts, but they really, really do. I think one time you were really surprised about how long these flowers were just lasting because of this token of gratitude. Yeah. And I think that's also really important, is that we, again, think of this friend analogy. Think about, actually, if my friends would respond so much better if I'm grateful to them. So apply that to everything in your life. Like even inanimate objects, or even kind of the home, or the kind of material things that you have in life. It's really, really important to kind of everything wants to be on the receiving end of gratitude, really, everything.
Well, hopefully, I feel like chatting about this has kind of unlocked something slightly, and perhaps a shift of gear in terms of how to perceive day-to-day things, because I think we have the ability as humans, we all have choice, don't we? So, you know, if things aren't going so well right now, we know that nothing's forever, everything is in constant flux and change, and we will move out of this.
I think it is this thing of, it's always that thing. It's like, when we need gratitude the most is often the time that we use it the least. Yeah. The times that we, it's very easy to be grateful when everything's going your way, right? It's like, oh, this is great, I'm loving this. And it is actually times, I remember a friend of mine saying, Fingal, life is meant to be frustrating. That is the purpose of life. It is meant to teach. It is meant to kind of inform. It is meant to stretch and expand, and, experience is just the name that we give our mistakes and all of that stuff. So it is, it's not just about, oh, I'm grateful for getting what I want. Actually being able to recognize those times of, well, I'm grateful that taught me that, or I'm grateful that I realized that wasn't what I wanted, or I'm grateful that it's that Einstein's definition of madness, isn't it? Doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting different results. And through the process of gratitude, we can notice, actually, I'm grateful that that's arisen again, because now I know that I'm not going to put myself in a kind of similar situation at all. Well, that was lovely, to put it mildly. I'm very grateful for today's session and how that all kind of worked out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else you want to add before I pull a card?
No, I think to be completely honest, my mind now is just starting to drift away.
Oh, cool. Fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
Pull your card and let's see what...
Oh, it's a good one. Okay. So we have the King of Cups. King of Cups. Ooh. I think he's 2 parts Scorpio, 1 part... something else. Can't remember off the top of my head. But very, very watery element is the King of Cups. And cups in the tarot always relating to the emotional realm, the intuition, realm of intuition, and all of that good stuff. It's interesting with the King of Cups because he's shown on this platform, this solid platform in the middle of the sea. And it's all a depiction about, and the sea's quite tumultuous. There's quite strong waves around him. And this card is a reminder that regardless of external situations, as long as we have internal stability, stillness, and reassurance, then we can face all of life's challenges. Remember, one of my favourite quotes is, life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. So this seems like a really strong affirmation about everything that we've spoken about today. It's like, it's not just about getting what we want. It's more often about getting what we need. And actually, it's about if we have control and order and choice over our internal realm, our emotional realm, our spiritual and intuitive realm, then regardless of how choppy those emotional waters might get, we can always steer a steady course. Well,
thank you. Yeah, thank you for bringing so many insights and so many, and thank you for kind of reminding me about gratitude, because it's weird that we've just covered this topic today and it wasn't actually planned, but it was obviously meant to be. So.
Totally. Yeah, because it's something I know I've only really started embodying gratitude in the last 4 months, and I've just seen firsthand the amazing transformations it can bring. So I've been so kind of encouraged and impassioned about kind of sharing that.
And I suppose it's that thing where these practices will come and go, and I think for anybody listening, it's not like, oh my God, I really let this slip, I must get on this right away. Things to
be gentle on yourself.
Be gentle on yourself. Life does this, and I've been through phases where I've had a real strong practice of gratitude, and there are phases when it hasn't. So it's either way, it's fine, I think. But I think it's just really important to recognize when it's there and when it's not, and then you can start in the right time starting to make those adjustments.
Yeah, it's a bit like exercise. We know we should do it and we feel better when we do, but sometimes we go months without hitting the treadmill or whatever. So this is a reminder to get on the gratitude treadmill.
Yeah. #gratitude treadmill. Hilarious.
Brilliant. Okay, well, lots of love to all the listeners and watchers at home, and may you go well.
And that's the end of this week's episode. We'd love to hear what you think, or suggestions of what we could cover in future. Either leave us a comment if the platform you're listening on allows it, or drop us an email, hello@wellnessfoundry.co.uk. Alternatively, DM us on Instagram. Be sure to hit subscribe or follow to stay up to date with the latest releases. But until next time, love and blessings.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Spirit Level, brought to you by the Wellness Foundry, the home of spiritual wellness. For more information and bookings, visit the website wellnessfoundry.co.uk or find us on Instagram @wellnessfoundry. Don't forget, as a thank you for listening, receive 5% off your first booking by using code PODCAST5 at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.